All right. So, greetings, scholars. Let me see. As far as announcements go, so I did just update grades. So, I would encourage everyone to check your grade on Populi. Check it for accuracy to make sure that everything is in order. I had to go through it a few times to kind of catch some errors, but I think I got all the errors out. So yeah, just check your grade. Check it for accuracy. If you score lower than like a 75%, it's a good idea to you want to schedule to meet with me. Like either we can either meet after class or during my office hours, so that we can try to position you for success. Um, I think like a post like a day or so ago, made a post, um, you know, with some information on how to connect with the tutors. Right. And I'm totally okay with like you taking this content, this material, and sitting down with the tutors and going line by line. Right. So if you need some help, you just ask, and between me, a trusted classmate, or a tutor, one of those three sources, between one of those three sources, you should be able to like find support and somebody that can assist. As usual, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat. Let me see. So let's see all. Mute. All right. As usual, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat, and we can talk about it. And then, as far as the midterm grade, all it is, again, all these grades, all they are, they're just snapshots of where you are at that moment in time. They have no bearing on your final grade. So, again, like if your current grade is below 75% or lower, then the assignments are there. I think with the assignments that are after chapter 3, there's a late penalty, but I think I removed the late penalty with assignments from chapters 1 through 3, right? But you should be able to access all assignments on MyOpenMath. You should still have unlimited attempts, and a minimal to no late penalty, right? So the assignments are just sitting there waiting for you to submit it. Um, I think it's a good idea for you all to work together. I know I have some students that are collaborating, so the more the merrier. Each one teach one. That's honestly how I learned a lot of this stuff. I kind of did what I could on my own, and then it got to a point where I started teaching my classmates. Once I got to that level of explaining it to my classmates, it kind of made me. I had to think about the content from multiple angles, and so that thing of helping my classmates actually helped me. Not that it's just that's what I did when I was in that position or whatever. I felt like there was something else. Yeah, so the assignments are there. You can submit them. You can submit them late. As long as you get them in by the end of the semester. And I do have students that do that. They kind of procrastinate. So in my little announcement, I was like, just be careful about procrastinating. That can become sticky, right? That can be a little bit dangerous. But I mean, sometimes the students do that, right? You never really know until the very end, or until the end. I don't need to say very. I overheard somewhere someone was like, just make sure everybody's in here. Come on. I overheard someone was like, yeah, you don't need to use the word very, right? Every time you have this urge to use very, there's some other word that describes it. Like instead of saying I'm very hungry, you could say I'm famished. Instead of saying I'm very tired, you could say I'm exhausted. You see what I'm saying? Like I was like that. So like very is one of those like words that you should like remove from your vocabulary, right? Like it's just interesting. So now it's like ever since I heard that quote, every time I have this urge to say very or I say it, I was like, well, I wonder what other word could I use in place of. So anywho, so today we're gonna be working on the last section for chapter 8 on personal finance. Let's see if I go like this. So it always does this. I don't know why. Single page. Okay, that's fine. So let's just try to go ahead and get through these slides, and then we'll kind of see what we do on the back end. So chapter 8 on personal finance, and this is section 8.8 credit cards. Right. So this is the last section on personal finance. Also, so the midterm grade was based on all assignments leading up to exam 2, but not including exam 2. I think exam 2 was due like next week, so I didn't include that in the calculation for the midterm. Um, and then again, if your grade is 75% or lower and you want to improve it, all you really have to do is just go back and just basically improve your scores. You get unlimited attempts at all assignments, and the system is set to take your highest score. Right? If you are going back to submit old assignments to boost your grade, I would encourage you to prioritize the exams, as those are going to have the heaviest weight, right? So if you're going back and doing old assignments, you want to prioritize your exams first. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your bucks. And then I would do the quizzes after that. That's going to have a slightly lower weight. And then I would save the homework for last, because the homework oftentimes can be a lot of work for minimal points, right? But again, if you made below a 90, on any assignment, you can always go back and improve those scores. And then again, I think I did remove the late penalty for the assignments from chapters 1 to 3. Let me see this thing. Letter N. So cancel. Testing. Yeah. So if you're just joining us, midterm grades have been posted. You definitely want to check it on Popularly for accuracy. And then as long as the main thing is, as long as you have a plan to position yourself for success, then, because I'm aware that, you kind of got to give people time in these kind of matters, and everybody's kind of on a different rhythm. So as long as you get your assignment submitted by the end of the semester with satisfactory scores, then you'll be fine. It's no need to worry about like the grades being updated. As long as the grades get into My Open Math, when I update the grades the next week or the next time, it's going to get in there, right? So as long as you submit it in My Open Math, you don't have to stress about it. It's because it's going to get updated, and it's going to always be changing. As long as your grades as long as you're constantly submitting assignments, it's going to keep changing until the end, right? The main thing is that we get our assignments submitted by the end of the semester. Okay. So we talked about the midterm. That's a snapshot. It's going to be dynamic until the end. And again, the midterm grade has no bearing on your final grade. Again, it's just a snapshot of where we are at that moment in time. Okay, so section 8.8 on credit cards. A few objectives. One, find the interest, the balance due, and the minimum monthly payment for credit card loans. 2, understand the pros and cons of using credit cards. 3, understand the difference between credit cards and debit cards. 4, know what is contained in a credit report. 5, understand credit scores as measures of credit worthiness. I'm getting like some traumatic flashbacks, but I mean, I've gotten to a stage where, I have my system that works for me for right now for navigating the whole credit realm. This is all of this stuff is just like a game. It's so it's so trippy and bizarre. It's so weird. It's to me, I just feel like it's a game. It's like I don't really take it serious, but it's like when I go to try to do something, if I get blocked, then I automatically start thinking, okay, well, what are some other ways that I can go about this? Like, taking the credit and using your credit and all this other stuff. That's one route, right? Then I start thinking, well, what are some of the other routes? How feasible is it? Is it worth it? It's like one of my students would say, if you're talking to somebody and they're not saying what you want to hear, you're just not talking to the right person. You just got to find somebody else to talk to. And so I've tested it. I was like, dang, she was right. Like, because there have been so many times when I just get around stuff by talking to somebody else. You just kind of keep going. Oh, cool beans. I think we are Gucci. Let me see. Yes. Okay, let's keep going. So open-end installment loans. Using a credit card is an example of open-end installment loan, commonly called revolving credit. Open-end loans differ from fixed installment loans, such as car loans and mortgages, in that there is no schedule for paying a fixed amount each period. Credit card loans require users to make only a minimum monthly payment that depends on the unpaid balance and the interest rate. Okay. Let me see. Open-end installment loan, revolving credit. Mm-hmm. Credit. Okay, that's fine. I don't see anything there. Most credit card company customers are billed every month. A typical billing period is May 1st through May 31st, but it can also run from, say, the 5th through the 4th. Customers receive a statement called an itemized billing that includes the unpaid balance on the first day of the billing period, the total balance owed on the last day of the billing period, a list of purchases and cash advances made during the billing period, any finance charges or other fees incurred, the date of the last day of the billing period, the payment due date, and the minimum payment required. Customers who make a purchase during the billing period and pay the entire amount of the purchase by the payment due date are not charged interest. Okay, I feel like that's fairly straightforward. Interest is calculated using simple interest, I equals PRT, where where R is the monthly rate, and T is 1 month. The principal P is the average daily balance. Okay, the average daily balance is the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period divided by the number of days in the billing period. So the average daily balance, the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period divided by the number of days in the billing period. That's okay. We might be done with this soon. The issuer of a particular Visa card calculates interest using the average daily balance method. The monthly interest rate is 1.3% of the average daily balance. The following transactions occurred during May 1st through the 31st billing period. Okay. So the previous balance, the billing date, payment, $250 credit, airline tickets, books, restaurant, end of the billing period, payment due date. Okay. So did we add that stuff? So we take the previous balance plus those divided by the number of days in the billing period. Is that correct? So find the average daily balance for the rounded to the nearest cent. Previous balance, I'm thinking that, let's see, a payment. Oh, okay. So they made a payment. So it looks like we might do the 1350 minus 250 plus 375 plus those charges. So then you have your new balance. And then what is it, 30 days or 31 days? Okay, let me see. Let me do it here. Oh, I was kind of hoping it was already ready to go. Right here. All right, let's see if this works. That looks good. Let's just clear. Okay. All right, so let's start with the 1350. Since they made a payment, it looks like they made a payment to their credit card, so we're going to say minus 250. And then we're going to say plus 375 plus 5750 plus 6530. Okay, we're gonna take that answer. So I'm gonna put this in parentheses. And I'm gonna divide that by, it looks like it's 31 days in this billing period. Okay, let's see what happens there. Let me check something. Sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period, number of days. Okay, let's go with that. So we got a result, average daily balance to the nearest cent, 5154. I'm gonna glance at my notes. Charge, right? Oh, okay. So I was missing something, right? Number of days at each unpaid balance. Let me see. So we got to think about the number of days in the. So when did they make their payment? So this is wrong because we forgot to. I wasn't thinking about the days that these balances are in the system. So they start the billing period at 1350, and then they made a payment on the 8th. So was that 7 days at the 1350, right? Let me see. I think this one's a little bit more accurate, right? So the unpaid balance was the 1350, and that was in there for 7 days. So the unpaid balance times 7 days is the 9450. And then on the 8th, they made a payment. So then we subtracted the 250. That's where we get the 1100. And I guess that was in there for 2 days because I think the next day they did a transaction, right? So that 1100 was in there for 2 days. So 11 times 2 gives us 2200. And then I think these are charges. So that first charge was in there. This new balance, that 1475, was in there for 10 days. And then there was another charge, so it became 1532.50, was in there for 8 days. And then another charge brought the balance to 1597.80, and that was in there for 4 days. Notice that the number of days, those add up to 31. So then we get this 45,051.20. Then we're going to divide that by 31, right? Okay. So yeah. So then the 45,000 divided by 31 gives us the 1453.26. The average daily balance. Okay, I get it now. So then let's see if we can do part B. It says find the interest to be paid on June 1st, the next billing date, round to the nearest cent. So the interest, I think it said, was 1.3% of the average daily balance. So we just found the average daily balance. So then we would just say 0.0133 times that average daily balance, right? And let's see if it should be right here. 0.013 times the average daily balance times 1 month, right? So the interest for that month is going to be $18.89. Okay. It's interesting. Let's see what else we got. Find the balance due on the 1st. So what is that? How do we use the average daily balance? We got the average daily. So I guess, what's the minimum due? How do we calculate the minimum? This credit requires a $10 minimum monthly payment of balance due at the end of each billing period. The balance due, okay, so the balance on the card, I guess it would be we got the average daily balance. We got this balance here. Plus, okay, so maybe we use the average daily balance to calculate the interest, right? So this is the current balance of $15.97 plus the $18, right? That we calculated using the average daily balance. And we're going to see it here. $15.97, I think that's the one that we said. Where is it? Right there. Yep. So we take that final balance that we had and we use that calculation on the interest, and we add those together to get the balance due. So you have the base balance plus the interest. Yeah, so we had the balance due, from our original calculations plus the interest earned based on the average daily balance. And that's where the 16, 16, and 69 came from. Because the balance due, the 16, 16, 69 exceeds 360, the customer must pay a minimum of 136. Let me go back to D because I think they gave us some information in that setup. It says this credit card requires a $10 minimum monthly payment if the balance due at the end of the billing period is less than 360. Oh, so they charge you if it's a low balance, $10 a month just to have this card. Otherwise, the minimum monthly payment is 136 of the balance due at the end of the billing period, right? So now we have our new balance plus interest. Since our new balance plus interest is larger than $360, we're going to take that, basically the result from part C, and we're going to divide it by 36. Yeah, so the result from part C divided by 36, and that's how we get part D. But again, that was all given here in the question. So then using my prepared notes here, the 16, 16, 69 divided by 36. So then the minimum amount due at the start of the next cycle is $45. That's interesting. So like how we did all this manually, you can make a spreadsheet that would like calculate all of this automatically, right? Like if you once you have a sense of like what you're looking for, you're keeping track of the transactions, then you can automate these calculations. Like that's honestly how I do you all's grades. Once I have the data, I try to match up the data to make sure it matches like the person with the assignment correctly. And then once in the spreadsheet, and once I have that stuff lined up properly, then I just create formulas. Like if it's the homework, I say take the average of the homework, then I scale it to the proper weight. And then, but I'm just basically using a spreadsheet. And that actually fringes on like a major topic in mathematics. I mean, I'm assuming it's still relevant today because I know these institutions are still using it, but it's the topic of big data, right? Like imagine it's like imagine it's like a hospital, and they're getting all this information on like, you know, just all this data from these, the success rate of a drug or the failure rate or the success rate of a surgery. They're getting like tons and tons and tons of data, like the amount of time people have been using it, the dosage. And so there's a need for like analysts and mathematicians to take this massive, massive amount of data and synthesize it. And what are some of the different ways that we can process the information? Right. On a small scale, it seems simple, but what if you have like, hundreds of data points or thousands or tens of thousands or millions or billions of data points, right? Then, you when you try to run this through your device, the computer, if it's not strong enough, it can like crash the device, and like they need this information to be synthesized so they can make a decision as far as, okay, should we continue with this, or is it failing, is it a success? You got to be able to crunch the numbers so that you can have a sense of what's going on in the system, right? It's really interesting. um oh, I totally missed it. That was like 10 minutes ago. Okay, anyway, totally got distracted. Determine the average daily balance. So first, make a table that shows the beginning date of the billing period, each transaction date, and the unpaid balance for each date. And then two, add a column to the table that shows the number of days at each unpaid balance. Okay. Add a final column to the table that shows each unpaid balance multiplied by the number of days that the balance is outstanding. Find the sum of the products in the final column of the table. This dollar amount is the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period, and then compute the average daily balance. This is the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period divided by the number of days in the billing period. Right. So, like, remember how we did it a moment ago? We had an unpaid balance. We times however long that balance was in the billing period, and then whenever there was a transaction, man. So I could imagine that, like, the people that manage my accounts, I'm sure they'd be like pissed. But again, I'm pretty sure they've also automated these processes because I'd be doing like back to back, like micro transactions and then large transactions, and so they could calculate in like, fractions of minutes or, fractions of days. I could imagine that would be annoying. But again, you would automate that. So it would be done automatically. But if you had to do that manually, that would suck. Um, I want to tell this other story, but I want to focus on this. Um, okay, so let's keep going. Let's see what else we got. So, advantage of credit cards. So, get to use a product before actually paying for it. No interest charges by paying the balance due at the end of each billing period. Responsible use is an effective way to build a good credit score. See page 568 for a discussion of credit scores. No need to carry around large amounts of cash. Yeah, because I get tired of carrying so much. Like I said, I don't know, but it's dangerous. Like, yeah, it's dangerous. It can be real dangerous. I don't like carrying a lot of cash. I always feel weird. I'm like, nope. This is, I don't like it being liquid. No need to carry around large amounts of cash. More convenient to use than checks. Offer consumer protection. If there is a dispute or fraudulent charge on your credit card statement, let the card issuer know, and the amount is generally removed. Provide a source of temporary emergency funds. That leads me into thinking about this whole CBDC, um, crypto banking, digital currency. That stuff is real creepy. Like, basically, what governments around the world are pushing for is this digital currency, where it's basically not tangible. It's digital, right? So what that means is that they can keep track of transactions. Now, we already use like debit cards and things like that, but if you want to do like a cash transaction, generally speaking, you can do it, right? But in the government's, effort to control people, they've been pushing for this digital currency, so that way you can't do a transaction without them knowing what you're doing. And so then it's like, then it leads to this whole social credit score thing, which is really creepy, which I do not like. It just, it makes me want to throw up. It's so disgusting. They actually kind of like talk about it a little bit in Black Mirror, and this is like, that's an old season, but with the social credit score coupled with the CBDCs, it sounds like R2D2, but you know, the government's like tracking each transaction that you make, and then say that, like, okay, all your currency is digital, and then the government's like, okay, you have to be quarantined, you have to wear your mask, you have to be vaccinated, you have to do this, and then you're like, no, I don't want to do that. They were like, oh, okay, and then just with the push of a button, they freeze all your assets. So now it's like they're trying to starve people out. But that's why it's important to have critical thinking, to be independent, to know how to like grow your own food, to do for yourself. So that way, when they come and try to exert this control, you don't need them, right? But if you just are passive and you don't if you don't take charge of your life, then the government or somebody else will try to take charge of it, right? And like, just not trying to be so dependent on these systems, because it's clear, it's so evident that they do not care about what happens to us. So it's like, even when I'm thinking like my elders, I'm like, how do you guys just like blindly like trust these officials when they clearly lie about everything? It's like things that clearly kill us are legal and things that actually heal us are illegal. Like, I heard of a story, in some places it's illegal to collect rainwater, but that's free water. That's water that you could be using to water your plants and this, that, and the other, but that's illegal. But then cigarettes are okay. Like, who was like deciding why are certain things legal and certain things not? Why are certain things legal and certain things illegal? And then when you start to trace, like when you start to follow the money and like the flow of money, then it all starts to make sense. If you couple, it's a lot of times it's like if you follow the flow of money, a lot of it's really money. I want to throw in this thing about race, but as far as I'm concerned, race is something that was like created to protect money, right? Like, racism was something that was created so that the people in power can can keep power more easily. Like, if the servants and slaves and people, the poor people, if people are just bickering and fighting and arguing all the time, then it's easier to control us, and it's a lot more difficult for people to see that they're being bamboozled. You see what I'm saying? Like, as long as you're arguing and fighting and angry and mad and stressed and worrying about money and distracted, social media and school, and you're not learning anything concrete, then you can't see when they go to like start this law that makes it legal for this heinous act, or protecting criminals, or when they do these maneuvers, we won't notice, people won't notice, because we're so dazed and confused and distracted, right? Don't get me started, man. I will just go and go and go on and on these topics. So, but anywho, bringing it on back, bringing it on back. So credit cards again, I don't agree with the whole CBDC thing. you know I'm more of the type to be independent, but I'm the one, I already know it's going to come to that point, because they don't want people to think critically. They don't want free thinkers and critical thinkers and people to challenge and question. They want people to be like, just just say yes and do what I say and don't question. And I was like, no, I'm not built that way. Like, I'm just not built that way. I can't do that. So I'm gonna challenge them. Like, I'm gonna challenge them. I already know. And I might do it directly. I might do it indirectly. But come hell or high water, one way or another, I'm going to challenge it. Advantage of credit cards continue. Extend shopping opportunities to purchases over the phone or the internet. Simple tasks like renting a car or booking a hotel can be difficult or impossible without a credit card. Monthly statements can help keep track of spending. Okay. Some issuers provide an annual statement that aids in tax preparation. Okay. And it may provide amenities such as free miles towards air travel, useful as identification when multiple pieces of identification are needed. Okay, that's interesting. We're almost there. We only got like 10 slides. Yeah, we're pretty good. Got like 45 minutes. So credit card woes. So we've seen some of the advantages of credit cards, right? So what are some of the disadvantages? So there tend to be like high interest rates on unpaid balances. In 2009, interest rates were as high as 30%. Jesus. No cap on interest rates. In 2009, the U.S. Senate defeated an amendment that would have imposed a 15% cap on credit card interest rates. The Credit Card Act, passed by Congress in 2009, does not restrict when issuers can raise rates on existing unpaid balances. So it's just like at a whim. It seems like they can just increase the rate, and just keep milking money. You know, your initial credit card interest rate is unlikely to go down, but can sure go up. Yeah. Yeah, it's trippy. But I mean, that's the good fight. Like, I know I'll be complaining about a lot of stuff, especially with my mom, and then she'll be like, I'd be like, man, this isn't fair. We're clearly being targeted and this, that, and the other. Like, I start just ranting, going in. complaining. I was like, I know if I was a different culture with my credentials, I'd be easily doing it, just all this kind of stuff. And she was like, well, that may be true. That may be the case. But she was like, but you got to find a way anyway. I was like, daggone it. She's absolutely right. I'm just making excuses, bitching and complaining. I was like, no, you gotta factor that in and make a move anyway. You still got to find a way to get it done anyway. So I was like, okay, let me stop complaining. And then it took me a while to realize why I was complaining. And basically, the way you make the energy of the complaining energy constructive, what that means is that whatever I'm complaining about, that just needs some attention, right? And so if it's caught my attention, then I just need to give it some attention, right? And either I need to take the charge to rectify it or follow up on it. Like for instance, I think I drive for like the rideshare companies, and I was constantly bursting my tires on these potholes, and I'm like, what am I paying taxes for? Oh my god, I want to share these videos with you guys on taxes. Oh my god, I think we were talking about this the other day, and I came across some videos in the night that like the way they articulated it. If I remember towards the end of class, I'll share it with you guys. It was like trippy. I was like, she makes a good point, and I saw at least two different presentations. I don't know if I have both of them ready to go, but I know I got at least one. But yeah, so I was like, okay. Last time I burst my tire, I was like, I'm going to document all this. I took a photo, I logged the location. I went on to pay for the repair, but I kept my receipts. And so now it's like I've been trying to track down. I think I'm going to go today when I leave you guys, actually. Trying to track down the person in charge. Because, like, basically, if you damage your car on a pothole around the cities, there's an official that will pay for it. Because the potholes are supposed to be repaired with our tax money that they've already taken, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna attempt to share the story of like how this woman was talking about taxes. She was like, so just do your best to kind of go with me. But she was like, if somebody like if an employer gives you money, it's taxed, right? If they give you money, there's a tax associated with it. So then when you receive the money, you have to pay taxes on money that you receive. So there's two tax charges right there. And then, so any money that you receive, there's already taxes taken out. Then every time you go to spend it, so if I go to spend it to buy whatever, I'm getting taxed again. But then all those companies that receive it, like every time there's a transaction, there are two tax transactions. Like, can you see how like that's wild as well. Every time there's a transaction, there's some tax associated with it. And so one of the content creators I follow, he recently said something like, now again, this is all allegedly. I haven't like followed up to confirm the statement, but he was like, it was deemed in a court of law that taxes are fraudulent. And it's so trippy because if you don't pay taxes, now you're threatened with jail time. But it's clear that it's criminal, right? We've already been taxed. Why do we continue to pay taxes? Like, it's how much do you need? And then when you turn around, there's this black budget. They're sending all this money to Ukraine, in this proxy war. The Pentagon is like, they failed the last 5 audits. They've lost trillions of dollars, like just poof, like where to go. And I'm assuming, to me, when money that amount of money vanishes, unaccounted for, I think that goes into the black budget to fund like black projects, like projects that are above top secret. And I get it. I get like that you need it and it's important, but in the same token, it's also like it's criminal. But it's like they walk this fine line between protecting society and criminal activity. It's like they can use any means that they want, criminal or legal, to get the job done, right? And so it's real trippy. So I'm like, what the heck? Do I need to get into like? But only reason I kind of avoid it because it's dangerous. Like, it's like you got to have some kind of protection. You got to be willing to lie, chill, steal, and kill to protect yourself and your loved ones. And it's like the things that it takes to safely navigate that realm. I don't think I'm willing to do it. Like, I think it goes against my morals, right? That's why I like never did the military. Then there was a video talking about they might be starting to draft back up. So one guy was like, well, when they come to me, I'm gonna be staring at the sun like I'm blind. And he was like, oh no, we can fix that. And he was like, he kept trying to make an excuse to avoid the draft. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. But I have my morals. Like, I have my morals. And then but it's war. Like, when it's war, you know, if you don't, it's like kill or be killed. Like, I don't know. It's kind of trippy. So Anyway, getting back on task again. Again, I told you I could just go and go and go and go on that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but we talked about this with taxes and credit card woes. Let's see. I think we got some more. So, some other credit card woes: no cap on fees. Consumer Reports from October 2008 cited a credit card with an enticing 9.9% annual interest rate, but the fine print reveals that a $29 account setup fee, $95 program fee, $48 annual fee, $7 monthly service fee, nearly 40% of the $40 billion in profits that U.S. card issuers earned in 2008 came from fees. Furthermore, issuers can hike fees at any time for any reason. Read the fine print of a credit card agreement before you sign up. Criminal activity. Like that's why I feel like all of this is a game, because these kind of systems, even like the education system, like a lot of things, it seems criminal. It's like, how is this okay? Like if like as a small person, as an individual, if I were to do the same thing, I would be put in jail or worse. So how is it okay for these big companies to do it, but it's not okay for the small people to do it? Like it's a double standard, right? It's so trippy. It's so trippy. More credit card woes continue. Easy to overspend. Purchases with credit cards can create the illusion that you are not actually spending money. I can see that. It can serve as a tool for financial trouble. Using a credit card to buy more than you can afford and failing to pay the bill in full each month can result in serious debt. Fees and interest charges are added to the balance, which continues to grow even if there are no new purchases. The minimum payment trap. Credit card debt is made worse by paying only the required minimum, a mistake made by 11% of credit card debtors. Pay the minimum, and most of it goes to interest charges, right? I thought that's what was happening to me with the car, but by the good grace of God, that's not what was happening. I was like, okay. So, I learned that system, but yeah, it's some really sly, really slick systems like at play. Like if you get sucked into them and you're not like savvy and you can't like be aware, I mean, you can get in like serious trouble. Um, Debit cards. Debit cards offer the convenience of making purchases with a piece of plastic without the temptation or ability to run up credit card debt. You can't spend money you don't have because the card won't work if the money isn't in your checking or savings account. Um, I kind of want to share the story about overdraft fees. That one was that one was deemed criminal as well. I'm going to share it. What's my time? Yeah, I'm going to share it. So once upon a time, like wasn't that long ago. It was only like a few years ago, but like Bank of America, for instance, say you had like maybe $20 in your account or whatever, and then you go to use your card, and when they were doing overdraft fees, the overdraft fee might be like $35. I know I tried this once, right? Just because I knew their system, or at least I thought I did. So say you have like $20, then you pay, like, you buy like a coffee, a sandwich, and you buy all these small things, and it totals to like $18. So then suppose you're like, okay, and then you do one final purchase that, like, I don't know, you do one final purchase of like $50. You like intentionally invoking the withdrawal, the overdraft fee, right? So you hit 18, you had $2 in your account, and then you decide, okay, well, I'm gonna spend $50 and intentionally, I'll eat the $35 overdraft fee, and I'll just pay it like that, right? So if you charge the transactions in the order in which they go, it would have only been one overdraft fee, right? And so you only been charged $35 once. But what the banking was what the financial institutions were actually doing at that time, they will rearrange the order in which you pay for your stuff, and they would do the largest transaction first, and then so like the order in which you charge the account affects the number of overdrafts. If you do, like, if you only had $20 and you charge it $50, and then if you go from largest transaction to smallest, what happens is it causes like hella like overdraft charges, right? So if they had done it in the order that it was charged, it would have only been one overdraft. But the bank takes it upon themselves. They used to take it upon themselves to rearrange it and do the largest charge first, and then doing it that way would cause like hella overdraft fees. So where instead of paying $35 in overdrafts, you end up paying like $200 and $300 and $400 in overdrafts because of all these small charges. And what happened? I called them several times on that, and they gave me the money back. Like, and so apparently, I guess when you were signing up for these accounts, when you were signing up for these accounts, they like you don't even have to have overdraft. Like that was something that they put on there, and that was in the fine print, that they made it so that you had to opt out. But now I think they've changed it. I think it made it all the way to like Congress, and Congress was like, no, this is criminal. And that was actually something where they say, hey, no, you can't do that. And so now it's like, in order to have overdraft fee and protection, you have to opt in, where before you had to opt out. Like you would have to contact them and say, hey, I don't want this, and then they would remove it. And so I didn't even know that was an option to opt out, and which is many people. That's the whole point. They're trying to go in under the radar. Um, there was something else, but that was just, one of the like sinister, sly maneuvers, that these institutions would do. There are other stories, but yeah. So that's pretty much. Okay, let me look at this one. Yeah, yeah. So I think we left off. Let me see. It won't work if the money isn't in your checking or savings account. Debit cards have drawbacks, so they may not offer the protection credit card does for disputed purchases. It's easy to rack up overdraft charges if your bank enrolls you in an overdraft protection program. That means your card won't be turned down if you do not have sufficient funds in your account to cover your purchase. You are spared the embarrassment of having your card rejected, but it will cost you fees of approximately $27 per overdraft. Right? I told you mine were like 35. And I mean, I talked to other people that had, you know, larger transactions, and they, you challenge it, and you know, again, as long as you're aware and you can kind of articulate and you can see what's going on, you can, you were able to get it. But now it's like, now they removed it. It's still a little bit annoying, but it's not as bad. It's not as like bad as it was before. But then it's just like, it left a really bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, okay, if they can get away with, you know, taking advantage of people's ignorance and like, charging people like that, I'm like, why would I want to do business with them? Because if they stop that, then who's to say they're not doing it in some other form? I know I do get charged like a monthly service fee, and I'm like, I'm paying you to just hold on to my money, But if I keep it myself, I won't be charged that. I won't be getting these monthly service fees, right? So it's annoying. So you just kind of have to like pick and choose your battles. Debit cards, debit card purchases should be treated like those for which you use a check. Record all transactions and their amounts in your checkbook, including any cash received from the ATM. Always keep track of how much money is available in your account. Your balance can be checked in an ATM or online. Okay, let's see what we got here. Credit reports and credit scores. As a college student, it is unlikely that you have a credit history. Once you apply for your first credit card, your personal credit report will begin. A credit report contains the following information: identifying information. This includes your name, social security number, current address, and previous addresses. Record of credit accounts. This includes details about all open or closed credit accounts, such as when each account opened, when the latest balance, and the payment history. Public record information. Any of your public record. Let me see. Any of your public records, such as bankruptcy. I can't get these words out today. Such as bankruptcy information, appears in this section of the credit report. Collection agency account information. Unpaid accounts are turned over to collection agencies. Information about such actions appear in the section of the credit report. Inquiries. Companies that have asked for your credit information because you applied for credit are listed here. We still got like solid 30 minutes. Um, I think I mentioned this the other class. Maybe I know when we did that class about cars. I just have this urge to mention it again. But it's about credit, and like when you're going to acquire information about a car, um, when you go to get information about a car, dealers like to run your credit, and they do that so that you don't go ask. They try to discourage you from going to another dealer, right? And so this content creator I was watching at the time, he was like, you know, when you go to speak to a dealer, um, don't let them run your credit. Like they don't have to run your credit to give you an estimate. Like if you're just trying to get an estimate on a car, and like they'll say things, well, assume good credit, right? And then just give me an estimate based on an assumption of good credit, because again, they're trying to run your credit. And again, this is all allegedly. I'm no financial advisor or anything like that. You got to do your own research. I'm just saying this is my experience, and this is like, you know, the story that I came across. But yeah, you can get information about cars without them running your credit. And again, the dealer is doing it because they're trying to stop you from going to another dealer, right? It's like, man, it's like so many different things are just so sinister and they're so manipulative. Like just trying to, trick people and scare people. And it's all in this game, this play of money, this control of money and the flow of it. Like, man, it just kind of pisses me off. And it's like, but I know the type of person I am. I need that energy of anger to take action, right? One of my, I was about to call him an elder, but he's more of like a colleague. Um, he would say things like, anger is the lowest energy level that you need in order for there to be change. He was like, anger is not all bad. It's just like, because if you like, say, if you feel like apathy or depression, or if you feel like an energy level lower than anger, you don't necessarily have the energy you need to do something about it. But then when you get angry, you're like, you know what? F this crap. I'm tired of this. I'm gonna put my foot down. No, we're gonna go do something. We're gonna go up there and let me speak to your manager. This kind of you're gonna take some action, right? Because you're angry, you're upset, you're tired of this. You're not gonna just sit idly by. You have the energy, you have the lowest amount of energy that you need to take action and create change, right? So that's the creative or constructive spin on the energy of anger. It's not all bad, it's all in your perspective and how you look at things. Really, really interesting stuff. Really interesting. I'm gonna just assume you guys are there listening. Like I always feel like I'm talking to myself, but that's the nature of like being remote like this, especially the way that I do it. Companies, I think we're good on this stuff. Let's keep going. We're almost done with this. Organizations known as credit bureaus collect credit information on individual consumers and provide credit reports to potential lenders, employers, and others upon request. The three main credit bureaus are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can get your credit report from the three bureaus free at annualcreditreport.com. So I want to say I have used Credit Karma. I don't use it though. Like they were like, it's not really accurate. You don't really use like Credit Karma to get an accurate credit report, but you can use it to see what's on your credit report. Like if you have something lingering on your credit, that should show up on like Credit Karma. Now I haven't looked into this annual credit report site, but I am aware that like the credit score I see on Credit Karma is not accurate. But I can use Credit Karma to see if there's something on my credit report, and then I can like give it attention or whatever. Okay. And we got like probably like one more slide. Let's see. So this one is just this section was more so just a discussion and talk. So that's cool. Credit bureaus use data from your credit report to create a credit score, which is used to measure your credit worthiness. Credit scores or FICO scores range from 300 to 850, with the highest score indicating better credit. The table contains ranges of credit scores and their measures of credit worthiness. Let's see. Credit worthiness. So 720 to 850, very good to excellent. Best interest rates on loans. 650 to 7, good, likely to get credit, but not the best interest rates on loans. Fair, may get credit, but only at higher rates. Poor, likely be denied credit by all but high interest lender. Bad, likely be denied by credit. Okay. Yeah, that is it. So we still have a solid 25 minutes. I know that there was a student. Let me see. I don't know if he ever sent that email or not. He had a question about something from it. I don't know if you were able to take the screenshot and send it. Are there any? You guys have any burning questions for me? Are there any burning questions? All right. So let me just think for one more time. So we've officially finished chapter 8. So I don't know if you found something interesting in the discussion of personal finance. I know I did. I wish that someone had sat down and gone through at least those concepts. Not that I don't really think it's reasonable to expect people to be like proficient in those, but just being aware of how the systems are at play between annuities and like car loans and home loans and just being aware of it. And then just then so then when you go to make a move, you're like, okay, wait a minute, maybe I should take this more serious, or no, I don't want to have to deal with that, or I'm trying to protect this, right? It would have been nice to have this presentation, and nobody, like, my mom was a bank examiner. I'm like, how did you not sit down with me with this? And I was like, I don't know. my dad worked for the Food and Drug Administration. He's a chemist, so I mean that's chemistry, and we talked about chemistry. But like, as a mathematician, like, how did nobody sit down do this? I'm like, how did I make it this far without that? So I thought it was interesting. But yeah, I really enjoyed this chapter. So it's essentially my Friday. Like I said, I submitted midterm grades. Exam 2, I think, is due next week. So we've only had one official exam. Then you have several like homework assignments and quizzes. Um, I'll update grades again after exam 2 is due. Again, just be patient. Like as long as your assignments are getting submitted on my open math, it will reflect. When I update the grades, just because if I'm not working on you all stuff, I got like 5 or 6 other classes I'm working on, right? Or just trying to rest, or like I'm having to drive to feed myself, right? Living my life, right? So it's like, just be patient. It's gonna get in there. Again, the main thing is that you're getting your assignment submitted on my open math. It will reflect, because I'm not gonna let it not reflect. Okay, so if there aren't any burning questions, we're gonna go ahead and end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you next week, same time, same place. Take care. Peace.
Have a good day.
You as well. Cue the outro music. I need some outro music or something. All right. And also, I will be updating my YouTube within the next couple of days. Yes.
Have a good day.
You as well. All right. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down.